Hi there, and welcome to the Holidays to Europe Travel Show, Episode 6. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Lynne Clarke, the Managing Director of MSC Cruises Australia. Good morning, Lynne. How are you today?
I'm well, Carolyn, and how are you today?
Very well, thank you. Now, today we're going to be talking about MSC's European cruises, but can you just tell our listeners where else in the world they can take an MSC cruise?
Well, our area is pretty vast. You can have a cruise to the West Indies or Caribbean, Arabian Peninsula, South Africa, South America, and of course the great thing is the grand voyages, as we call them, as they take in so many ports of call, which is when the ships actually deploy from one continent to the other. And those are exceptional voyages.
Fantastic, sounds lovely. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the European cruises, can you tell us a little bit about the history of MSC Cruises?
It's a wonderful history, actually, and it was built upon a dream. MSC is still family-owned and operated, and it was our owner's dream to actually own a ship, and it is cargo ships, and he started the company in 1979 with one cargo ship that was going to go to South Africa. And today we have over 475 container ships.
Wow.
And from there, it's really a passion for the sea. So obviously it's extended to the snav ferries, to cruise ships, etc. So we call ourselves the masters of the seas.
Sounds like you definitely are. And how many cruise ships do you have?
We've got 12 now. We started building our first cruise ship in 2003, and we've got more on the way.
Wonderful. Now, with the European itineraries, they cover the Mediterranean, which is a favourite of many people, but also in Northern Europe. What are some of the destinations that someone can visit on an MSC cruise?
In the Mediterranean, the great thing is we divided it to the East and the West Mediterranean. What's wonderful about that, people can therefore determine what side they want to be, if it is more of the Spain, France, Tunis, Malta, or whether they're going to go ex-Venice more to Greece and Turkey. Of course, the great thing is because we've got so many ships there, it's very easy for us to combine the cruises going to a 14 or 21 or even 28-night cruises where you can just stay cruising as people are.
Lovely. So you could do an Eastern Mediterranean cruise and then sort of coordinate that to then do a Western Mediterranean cruise.
Correct. And in fact, we've got that program running where we call them the Grand Mediterraneans, and we actually offer free transfers between Genoa and Venice, or Venice and Genoa, so you can do it in either direction.
Okay.
For us, the ships are going every week, so it's really our client's choice of where they prefer to travel.
Yeah, lovely. Now, you mentioned that by doing that, you can extend your itineraries out to even like 28 nights. But I noticed from your brochure and on the website, a lot of the cruises are around 7 nights. So that would obviously fit in perfectly with if someone wanted to do a cruise as part of a longer European holiday.
Oh, totally. I think everything these days is about choice, which is so important as we become more time poor and we're looking for a certain type of holiday that's of great value to us and meets our needs and expectations. So with the 7 nights, as you mentioned, they are great for people that are perhaps doing a shorter European holiday and haven't cruised before.
Yes.
You'll get those people doing 7 nights. Once people have cruised, I think we all know now that there's something that captures your heart and you just merely want to stay cruising for longer and getting the value. So yes, for the longer European holidays, they're great. And it's the same thing in Northern Europe. You can combine the Norwegian fjords with the Baltic capitals, and we've got weekly departures.
Fantastic, yeah. So you get, a taste of both.
Exactly.
Yeah,
2 worlds, yes.
Yes. And do the European cruises operate all year round?
Yes, we do. And that market has become so popular. We've always had the traditional market that perhaps gone over to Europe to ski or to visit friends and relatives. And this is doing something different where the ship becomes the destination. It's geared up for that Christmas and festive season. And it's a lovely way to actually spend that whole period.
Oh, it would be.
It's much quieter in Europe at that time. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would also obviously eliminate the hassle of, getting around if there's snow and so forth on the roads. And,
exactly.
Yeah, so
all you have to do is just toddle down to have your coffee or your drink.
Sounds like the perfect way to spend Christmas. Now, one of the things I noticed on the website is that the majority of the sailings on the cruises happen overnight. So therefore, you wake up in the morning or not long after and the ship arrives in a new port. So this is obviously a fantastic time saver, I guess, for clients as well, because they're not spending all day, every day sailing. What sort of excursions are available in some of the different ports?
Well, there are so many. We obviously analyse the best of each city we're going to and the surrounding areas. And again, choice is very important, because what you may like, if you're very interested in history and architecture, may be very different to me. I'm not saying that I do this, but I may be interested more in just the shopping of the place or the food, etc.
Sure.
So, and catering for people that perhaps haven't been there with the traditional city tours or beach tours if we're in the Caribbean. So it takes a myriad of excursions. Your hardest is choosing which one.
Yeah.
Yes. And your point about sailing or cruising overnight is really very apt, as it is a lovely way to just spend an evening having dinner, relaxing, going to a show while the ship is actually taking you towards your next destination. So you're traveling in style. You're not standing in a queue, perhaps a little bit perturbed, worrying about time, etc.
Yeah, that's right. And what better thing is there than waking up in a new port each morning?
That's certainly
and often a new country, yeah.
Exactly, a room with a view.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you mentioned that you have a fleet of a dozen ships at the moment. Roughly how many passengers do each of the ships carry, and what are some of the facilities on board the ships?
If we take it to total capacity then, and rounding the numbers, I'll go to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000.
Okay, yeah.
On the ships, again, it's analysing what people want, and we know people, love food, they love entertainment, they love spas, they love the gym. So we've got all those facilities on board, or 10-pin bowling, nearly relaxing by one of the pools. It's there for people to really enjoy and carry on with a way of life and meet their holiday expectations.
Yeah, fantastic. So there's really something for everyone.
Certainly.
And I guess if obviously the food is so amazing that perhaps the gym makes them feel a little bit better after overindulging.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
You always seem to start off well on a cruise. You wake up each day, perhaps have your morning coffee or tea on your balcony, and then think, well, I'll go to the gym now. You start off at the gym and your life goes downhill from there.
After about day 2, I think that would definitely stop with me. Now, you mentioned obviously on some of the ships, 2, 3, 4,000 people. So that does sound like a lot of people. But if there's someone who likes a bit of privacy, you also offer the yacht club on board. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, certainly. Just before going to the yacht club with taking the number of passengers, the important thing is the space ratio, and that's what people actually have. And you'll find that people will come back and say, I didn't feel like the ship was full.
Yeah, great.
So it's all about space, and people do find what they want to do. So it's not having, the same amount of people in the same space, but on the larger ships, obviously, even your corridors are a lot bigger. So you might be walking around and, not see that many people for a while.
Okay.
But if you are looking for that total exclusivity, then on our large ships, we do have Yacht Club, which is 75 cabins, and everything is totally exclusive for those passengers from the time they arrive. The butler will be there to meet them. They have their own separate reception area, concierge, obviously 24 hours a day, their own private lifts, much larger cabins as you would expect.
Okay.
Their own topsail lounge, their own pool area, their own free time dining.
Wow, yeah.
So, yes.
So they can really be in their own little world
you certainly
as part
can.
of the big ship. Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, if they wish to enjoy the remainder of the ship, it's there.
Yeah.
And again, I'm bringing that word choice.
Yes. Okay. That's great. So what age of passenger does an MSC cruise cater for?
The average age is 55, which is wonderful. But cruising in general actually goes across a whole multitude of ages. So it's multi-generational. And this is another wonderful thing, I think, how well ships cater for everybody's needs. Because if you were going to travel with your family, depending on their ages, you may or may not see them. If you've got younger children, they probably want to be in kids club, enjoying all those aspects that go with kids club and meeting other people. If you're traveling with your parents or their families, people seem to find what they want to do and fit in. And it comes back as a wonderful family holiday as well. But honeymooners love it.
Yeah, sure.
Younger people are cruising now, very much with that 21, 28-year-olds as they realize the value of money and think, why would they not be on a cruise in such style and elegance rather than at, an expensive hotel?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not silly.
No, that's right. Now, so we'll get to the cost in a moment because I know it is fantastic value. But before we do, we talked about families there. So do you have cabins that can accommodate families, or do they need to take 2 cabins?
No, we actually have right now children under 18 cruise free if they share with 2 paying adults. Of course, there are interconnecting cabins and there are some family cabins that take more people, 5 people, etc. So as children get older, there's been other aspects where if you were going to travel with much older children coming to that 15, 16, 17, really they may decide the children get their own cabin, but parents will have a balcony and the children will get an inside. So there's so many things you can play with.
Yeah, so there are all those options there. Yeah, great. So now talking about the cruises, I had a bit of a look on your website and I noticed that some of the cruises start from less than $100 per day, which is just amazing value. What do those fares include?
Obviously, when people have never cruised before, never considered a cruise, they will talk to you and say, well, I know it includes my accommodation. How much are meals going to cost? And when we tell them that meals are included in the price and that they can eat as many times as they wish, they just can't believe it. And I think that's one of the great things about cruises is it's very different to a hotel, whereas if you went into a restaurant and you left and you came back half an hour later, you would pay for it again.
Yes.
Here you can go into the restaurant as many times as you like. Our buffet is now open over 20 hours a day with food changing throughout the day.
Wow.
So you can just go past and have a little nibble anytime you like.
It's putting grazing to a whole new meaning to it. Yeah.
Oh, there's healthy style for you.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so now I can't finish up without asking you what's your favourite destination in Europe, or is there a particular cruise itinerary that you love?
I think it's so hard when people ask this question because so many things in life really come down to a moment or memory in time rather than an actual destination. So I just really couldn't choose one particular destination. It really is those little moments. I am going to the Arabian Peninsula, I think in about 2 weeks' time. And because I've never been to Oman before, obviously that's going to be exciting. So it's more of what new journey everything brings and what happens on those. So I don't have a favourite destination.
Okay, we'll let you off there. But I guess, as you say, that's one of the great things, like even for someone who has been to a few destinations in Europe before, for instance, if they did a cruise that started in Venice where they might have previously visited and then they could stop in at Dubrovnik, that would, even though they've been to some of the places before, there's all those new experiences as well.
And that's so true because obviously I've cruised to the same places perhaps 7, 8 times and it's always so different. Every time you see something, every time you experience it, even if it is going back to your same favourite little restaurant or walking down the streets again, you still feel very comfortable doing that and really appreciate the opportunity that you are privileged enough to go back to some of those places. For me, honestly, the greatest joy is being on a ship and I feel that I can truly breathe when I'm out at sea. It's a very special feeling.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Lynne, for taking the time to chat to me today. And I'm sure you've encouraged lots of our listeners to include an MSC cruise on their next holiday. So I'll just tell them where they can get some more information. They can jump onto your website, which is www.msccruises.com.au, or give the Sydney office a call on 1300 028 502. Thanks for your time, Lynne.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to talk with you this morning.
Thank you.